Hi everyone, I wanted to put together this short video for you. A lot of you have questions about purchasing direct, whether you should or not, and how you should go about it. So I hope this helps, and I'll follow up with a summary at the end. So the first question you might ask yourself is, do I do enough volume to buy direct? So I listed some of our most purchased stems in quantities that are very typical for the smaller box sizes that come out of Miami. 100 stems of roses, variety is unimportant, 150 stems of carnation, 12 bunches of palms, 10 Alstro, 10 stock. Now, I have seen much smaller pack sizes than this, but these are your typical pack sizes. If you're using these particular products in quantities similar to what I have listed here, then you absolutely should be buying direct. Buying direct is going to save you a lot of money. It's going to get you fresher product. It's going to make happier customers because of the fresher product. They're going to have a longer table life with their arrangements. It's going to make all the difference in the world for your bottom line. The other question I have people ask me a lot is, do shippers have a minimum purchase? No. The actual vendor who sells you the product generally does not have any minimum purchase. You can usually buy 1 box or 100 boxes. They don't care. You also do not have to buy everything from one vendor. There are a slew of vendors in Miami who are just waiting to take your order. And you can buy 1 box from vendor A and 3 from the next guy over here, or 2 from over there, whatever. And sometimes it makes the most sense to do it that way. It might be easier to say, here, I need these 12 boxes and give them all to one vendor. Then you can walk away and be done with it. But you may not be getting the best prices if you're not shopping around. So we split our orders up for a lot of reasons, mostly for price and best product. Not always for price. You know, we buy from certain vendors just because their quality is exceptional and they're reliable. But you can split your orders up. You do not have to buy everything from the same place, but on the same token, you certainly may. Decide what you're going to buy from all these different places. You don't have to worry about getting it all together. Your shippers and your vendors will do that for you. You just have to tell them, hey, I'm flying this product. Here's my information. Or I have a truck, here's my information, or here's my FedEx account, or whatever. It's their job, once you say, yes, I want that, to get it to a place that gets it to you. If you are interested in getting a truck for your shop, there are a few things that you should know. First of all, it's really just a phone call. But the things that you should know prior to that phone call are that most truck lines, if not all, will charge you what they call a minimum cube rate. Let's say your cube rate is, let's say you have to pay $3 a cube, or you have a $100 minimum per shipment. Cubes are determined based on the size of your box. If your box, for instance, in the example here, we have a box, it's a quarter box. They're termed quarter, half full. There's also smaller than a quarter box. This particular box for the example that I used measures 41 inches by 10 by 8. And if you multiply those 3 numbers together, you get the number 3280. If you divide 3280 by 1728, your box is 1.89 cubes. That's how you do the math every single time. Without fail, it's always the same. So that 1.89 cubes, like we said, maybe your cube rate is $3 a cube. If you multiply 1.89 cubes by your $3, the rate to ship that box on that truck is $5.67. Pretty good deal. If you have a minimum trip minimum, or a trip minimum of, let's say, $100 per shipment, then you need approximately 33 cubes to meet your minimum. Not all boxes are the same size. Like I mentioned, we have different size boxes and they all measure differently. Not all quarter boxes are the same size. They're close, but they're not all the same size. These are all hypothetical numbers. I don't know what you would be quoted for a minimum should you decide to reach out to a truck line. You do the math and you run the numbers and you don't think that you can meet a minimum truck, if you can get close and just pay the minimum every shipment, you might still be cheaper than FedExing everything in, or maybe even cheaper than flying. It's just real important to do the math to find out. It's got to be cheaper than buying from your local wholesaler. I found when I moved from local wholesale to Miami, I was saving 50%. When you move from Miami to farm, the savings is just ridiculous. But let's just stick to the buying direct from Miami right now. If you can get close, like I said, it's probably still a better deal for you to pay the minimum for a truck than to fly or FedEx. If that's not the case, maybe you have a colleague in the business that already has a truck and might let you piggyback on their route. This saves them money and it saves you money. The way it saves them money is the more cubes that they put on their truck, their rate drops a little bit. There are tiers. And it saves you money, obviously, because now he's meeting the minimum with your stuff. So you probably don't need to ship 33 cubes. He probably doesn't care if you put 1 box on or 5. And generally, there are a lot of local wholesalers right now who are already doing this for small flower shops. They are allowing some of their customers to put boxes on their trucks. And some of these wholesalers, by the way, have a truck almost every day out of Miami. So it's super convenient. But if your local wholesaler will let you do this, this is a great, great deal. Generally, what they will do is not even measure and cube up your boxes. They'll just give you a flat rate. It's this much money for a quarter box, it's this much money for a half box, and so on and so on. And so the math is really easy. Or maybe you have another colleague in the business who wants to have a truck and doesn't. And maybe together, the two of you, if you decide to ship together, can meet the minimums or get close to them. These are all really just suggestions. You know, I'm trying to get you to think outside the box rather than doing things the way you've always done them. If the way you've always done them, it's working for you, great. But if you're really curious about buying direct or buying from Miami, skipping your local wholesale guy, these are some of the things that you should think about. Yes, you are also able to fly your flowers if you don't want to do truck or you don't want to FedEx or so on. You have no minimum boxes imposed when you fly your flowers. The airline doesn't care how many boxes you fly, but they might have a minimum dollar amount that you have to spend for each shipment. So they don't care if you ship 1 box or 10, but they might say every shipment's at least $100. So my recommendation when we fly flowers is that it needs to be good 8 to 10 boxes to make the freight worth it. And that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Also, if you're not sure how to do the flying part, since 9/11, there are some protocols put into place. You may have to apply to be a known shipper. And if this all sounds way too complicated and time consuming for you, there are also air freight forwarders who can help you do this. Hidden fees. Yes, there are hidden fees. When you purchase anything directly from a Miami broker or a vendor in Miami, and let's say you say, I need 100 Freedom Roses, and he gives you a price of 45 cents a stem. Sounds like a great price. You need to ask your vendor, is that an FOB price? And for those of you who don't know what FOB is, maybe you've heard it, but you never really knew what it stood for. It's just an acronym that stands for freight on board, and it refers to the cost getting the product landed in Miami, or what I consider to be an all-in price. When your vendor buys roses, that same box of roses, from a farm in Ecuador, the farm gives him a price. And then it's up to your vendor to get those flowers from South America into Miami. So there are consolidation fees, there are freight fees, they have to go through customs. There's a lot involved in all of that. And those are the fees that are included when you have a price. There won't be anything additional on your invoice. If your tells you no, this is not FOB, that's okay. A different line item on your invoice when you get your bill. And that also doesn't mean it's a bad deal. You have to do the math. It's really super important to do the math. You may still come out way ahead once you pay 45 cents a rose and say $4 for that box for freight, it's still going to be cheaper than your wholesaler. Just do the math before you make the purchase to make sure you're getting a good deal. So in summary, how much product do you use in a reasonable period of time? And there are some products you can alternate. You don't have to, if you don't use that many carnations, you don't have to buy them every week. They last forever, practically. You can buy a box of carns this week and don't buy them again for 2 weeks, and you're going to do just fine with your carns. Same with your palms. They last for a very long time. So figure out what it is that you should be buying direct and what you probably can't. Also, there are a handful, literally just a handful, of vendors in Miami who will mix boxes for smaller shops. You can't give them the order and expect a quick turnaround. This is an order that takes like 4 or 5 days. So if you know in advance, maybe a week from now, you'd like to get a box of mixed Alstro and wax flour and whatever else, and get small quantities of each item, you can call that vendor and say, hey, I'd like to ship next Friday the following items. Can you mix a box for me? And if it's the right vendor, they'll do it for you. Secondly, no minimum purchase. Third, you can purchase from as many vendors as necessary. In fact, you should. You should do it that way. Also, find creative ways to share freight with your colleagues. They're probably asking themselves these same questions and maybe don't know how to do this. So if you approach them and pose these ideas to them, you may be doing them a favor. And honestly, I prefer to see small shops working together rather than against each other. We'll be a stronger network of florists if everyone would work together once in a while. Again, watch for hidden fees, ask the questions, do the math. Lastly, like I said, do the math. Make sure when all is in that it makes sense for your business. I hope that I touched on enough information to give you guys some ideas, some knowledge. If you have any questions or some of this didn't make sense to you, or if you feel like I left something out, please feel free, reach out to me, send me an email, get to me on the Facebook group. I'm happy to talk to you and answer any questions you have. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.